We'll start with Afghan TV over there.
Thank you. My name is Muqim Abdurrahimzai from Sabah TV, Afghanistan. I have one question which has two parts. The first question is, we all know that without Pakistan cooperation, there will be no end to violence. What can NATO do to ensure Pakistan to cooperate in this regard? And second, we were witness for the oral dispute of you and President Karzai. I would like to know how do you assess the current relation between NATO and President Karzai? Thank you.
First on Pakistan, I fully agree that we need a positive engagement of Pakistan if we are to ensure long-term peace and stability, not only in Afghanistan, but in the region. We have urged the Pakistani government and the Pakistani military to step up their efforts to fight extremism and terrorist groups in the border region between Pakistan and Afghanistan. It is a problem, and we have to face that. It is a problem that terrorists can cross the border, conduct terrorist acts in Afghanistan, and then seek sanctuaries, safe havens in Pakistan. It's neither in Afghanistan's interest nor in Pakistan's interest, obviously. It's countering all our efforts to improve the security situation. So we have a common interest in an intensified fight against these cross-border activities. In that respect, I think the trilateral cooperation we have established can play an important role. It is a trilateral cooperation between ISAF, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. This is a good framework for addressing these border issues. As far as NATO is concerned, we have had talks with Pakistan on the conclusion of a political framework for engagement between Pakistan and NATO. Just before Christmas, the Pakistani foreign minister visited NATO, addressed the NATO Council, invited me to come to Islamabad to continue talks on this political framework. I think these are some of the initiatives we could pursue. And your second question?
The second question was about NATO's relation with President Karzai.
Yes. I have the very best relations with President Karzai. We have just had a meeting which took place in the usual friendly atmosphere. We had a very open and frank discussion. We focused on the future. We focused on the legal framework for our continued presence in Afghanistan beyond 2014. It was a resumption of the talks we had in Kabul when I met President Karzai some weeks ago. We have known each other for quite some years now, and we always have talks in a very open and very frank atmosphere. Also when I have some tough messages to convey to him on behalf of NATO allies and ISAF coalition partners, and vice versa, when he has some messages to convey to me, we can always do that. in a friendly atmosphere, and still there's no doubt what is our position. I appreciate that very much.
Associated Press, behind.
Following on from that last question, in order to provide the support beyond 2014 that you talked about, you'll need a status of forces agreement. Two questions. One is it absolutely essential for you that NATO soldiers not face courts in Afghanistan? And how optimistic are you that that can be achieved? Thank you.
I will not go into details on how we can elaborate such a status of forces agreement. We have started talks, and for that reason, and to ensure a positive outcome of these talks, I won't comment on details. But of course, as you mentioned, we need a clear legal framework for our continued presence beyond 2014. That goes without saying. But I'm also confident, based on the talks I had with President Karzai during my visit to Kabul some weeks ago, and based on the talks we have just had, I'm confident that we will reach an agreement on the status of forces.
Europa Press.
Thank you, Secretary General. Ana Pisonero from the Spanish news agency Europa Press. Going back on the transparency and the ways for the new financing mechanisms for the Afghan forces, how confident are you that this will help the whole international community, and particularly the allies, to maintain the funding needed for the Afghan forces, especially because not that many allies have actually made clear commitments to continue the funding? And my second question in relation to this, if you can confirm that it will actually be the US that takes charge of the control of this money and this channeling the money to make sure that it basically just doesn't end up in the wrong hands. I don't know if there's a clear date until when the Americans will actually be in control of these mechanisms. Thank you.
Yeah, but on the latter, as you know, the Americans are in charge of the existing funding mechanism, and that leads me to the first part of your question. The reason why we have not seen that many, but actually we have seen a number of clear pledges when it comes to the financing of the Afghan security forces in the future. But the reason why some nations may have been a bit reluctant to come forward is that we have not known the exact framework, and obviously for many nations it is important to know that the funding mechanism is transparent, that it's accountable. I have a background as long-serving parliamentarian in Denmark, so I can assure you that parliamentarians want transparency and accountability if they are to provide money for such a purpose. So I think the fact that we have now clarified this and adapted the trust fund to provide future financing of the Afghan security forces, the fact that that has now been clarified will also pave the way for a broader financial commitment to financing the Afghan security forces. Let me remind you that the international community as such has pledged to contribute to the financing of the Afghan security forces on several occasions. This is not only a NATO or ISAF responsibility, it's a broader responsibility for the whole of the international community.
We have time for one last question, Pakistani GeoTV.
Khalid Hamid Faruqi from Geo Television, Pakistan. As NATO forces departures approaching in 2014, but same time, Afghanistan and Pakistan relationship is deteriorating very fast, and the word of war is continue. I would like to ask, that is, you mentioned sanctuaries in Pakistan of Afghan Taliban or terrorists, but Pakistan has its own case, which will be presented tomorrow to Secretary Kerry, that Pakistan said that in Kunar province, hundreds of Taliban who were forced to run away from Swat after operation, taking refuge in Kunar province in Afghanistan, coming back, committing suicide bombing or terrorist activities in mainland Pakistan in Peshawar during election campaign, and absolutely nothing had been done by the Afghan government. Can you comment on that, please?
I can't comment on the concrete case, but let me say in general that I fully realize that Pakistan has also suffered from terrorist acts. The Pakistani people is also victim of terrorism. And that's exactly my point, that Pakistan and Afghanistan have a mutual interest in fighting extremism and terrorism and the cross-border activities. It's really a common interest. And that's the reason why I urge both parties to seek an agreement that can pave the way for lasting peace and stability in the two countries and in the border region. And I commend all responsible political leaders that do their best and invest a lot of efforts in finding such solutions. So we need a positive engagement of Pakistan. We need a close and positive cooperation between Afghanistan and Pakistan. And I hope the talks that will take place here and other initiatives can contribute to that.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm afraid this is all we have time for. Thank you very much for covering this ministerial.